Michael Vaughan's Test career began dramatically against South Africa at Johannesburg in November 1999. He came to the crease at the end of the second over, and before he had even faced his first delivery, England were 4 wickets down for 2 runs. He made 33 that day in a minute short of 2 hours at the crease, a performance that told the England selectors everything they needed to know about his character. It would be another 2 years before Vaughan really came into his own as an England cricketer, but when he arrived, he did so in style. The summer of 2002 was an Indian summer in every sense. Vaughan cavorted to 900 runs in 7 matches, including 615 in 4 tests against India, against whom he made scores of 100 at Lords, 197 at Trent Bridge, and 195 at the Oval. With a cover drive that evoked memories of Peter May, and a crisp and dismissive pull shot to anything remotely short, Vaughan possessed a pair of weapons to see off any bowler in the world. That winter in Australia, he proved it. In an extraordinary personal triumph, he racked up a tally of 633 runs in the 5 tests, with 3 big hundreds at Adelaide, Melbourne, and then finally at Sydney, where his first innings 183 set England up for a consolation victory in an otherwise comprehensive 4-1 defeat. 6 months later, as Nasser Hussain reached the end of the line as England captain, there was only one logical successor. Vaughan's first test in charge was as traumatic as his debut. England were routed by an innings and 92 runs by South Africa at Lords, but they bounced back to level the series 2-2 with a thrilling victory at the Oval, by which stage the foundations of a remarkable world-beating team had been laid. After a hard-earned victory in Bangladesh and an attritional defeat in Sri Lanka, Vaughan's battle-hardened England embarked on a run of unprecedented success with a 3-0 victory over West Indies in the spring of 2004, their first series win in the Caribbean for 36 years. At home the following summer, Vaughan's authority grew and grew with every match. England won all 7 of their tests in the 2004 home season, 3 against New Zealand and 4 against West Indies, before travelling to South Africa over Christmas to secure an impressive 2-1 victory, their first in the country since apartheid. By the time Bangladesh had been swept aside in a 2-test mismatch at the start of the 2005 summer, England had been victorious in 14 of their previous 18 tests, with just a solitary defeat since the end of 2003. The stage was set for the greatest campaign of Vaughan's career, and the one that would set his legacy in stone. The summer of 2005 was a triumph in every respect, as Vaughan kept faith with his first choice 11 after a potentially devastating defeat in the opening test at Lords. He then kept his cool in the field as Australia came within 2 runs of taking a 2-0 lead at Edgbaston, before Steve Harmison popped up with the dismissal of Michael Kasparovitz that turned the series. At Old Trafford, Vaughan capitalised on 2 let-offs in consecutive Glenn McGrath deliveries to stamp his personal mark on the series with a commanding 166. And then, having inched ahead in the series with a 3-wicket win at Trent Bridge, it all came down to the final day of the summer at the Oval. A scorching century from Kevin Pietersen put the threat of an Australian victory beyond doubt, and it was left to Vaughan, amid scenes of matchless delirium, to lift the Ashes urn and end Australia's 16-year run of dominance. The following day, as tens of thousands of fans turned out to watch their heroes, England's Ashes winners were paraded through Trafalgar Square on an open-top bus. That moment ought to have been the start of great things for Vaughan and England. They were on a roll of 6 series wins in a row, with a settled and confident side, and the sky seemed to be the limit. But sadly for Vaughan, calamity struck in Pakistan that winter. Turning for a second run during England's final warm-up match in Lahore, he suffered an agonising knee injury that ruled him out of the first test in Multan, which England lost in a dramatic final day collapse. He returned barely fit for the final 2 tests, but in India 3 months later, the injury returned with a vengeance. Months of surgery, rehab and gloomy prognoses followed, as England, rudderless, squandered his legacy with a humiliating 5-0 whitewash in the 2006-7 Ashes. Against all the odds, Vaughan returned, first in time for the 2007 World Cup, and then at Headingley, where he marked his first test for 18 months with an emotional century against West Indies. But his second coming was an uneasy one, and against India later in the summer, he lost his first home test series as captain. Another defeat followed in Sri Lanka, and though England hinted at a renaissance with back-to-back victories over New Zealand, Their subsequent defeat against South Africa proved the end. On August 3rd, 2008, the morning after England's decisive 5-wicket defeat at Edgbaston, Michael Vaughan stood down as England captain after a record tally of 26 victories in 51 tests. He vowed to battle on and rediscover his form in time for the 2009 Ashes, but his returns for Yorkshire did not warrant a recall. On the 30th of June 2009, he announced his retirement from all forms of cricket and departed the international stage with a tally of 5,719 runs in 82 tests, with 18 centuries and an average of 41.44. More than the runs he scored, or the style he scored them with, however, Vaughan will be recalled as one of the finest England captains of all time, and the man who brought home the Ashes in one of the greatest Test series the world has ever seen.
This is Cricinfo Talk.